members of the church who come in the doors and ask you, can I study the Bible with you? How many do we have doing that? There's not too many. Sometimes on the website or we may have people asking for a Bible correspondence course or whatever that is. But friends, if we're waiting for people to ask us for a Bible study, then we need to change our attitude. Change our practice, because we need to do that. We need to be asking them. And so when you think about that, we got to get rid of these excuses that we have. They don't want to hear, or I'm too shy. Number 3, we need to pray for the lost. A sincere, fervent, continual prayer. When you think about this, this is one of the things, the power that's in our hands is the power of prayer, and prayer changes things. And then also we need to learn a system. It is much easier. Whenever the vacuum salesman used to come to the door, they had a patented pitch that they would say to you. I've been getting phone calls from, I forget who it is now, one of these places wanting donations. Called up and asked, is Leroy there? Well, it's the 3rd time somebody called and asked for Leroy. But this is their pitch. And then when you say, well, no, Leroy's not here, they'll say, well, maybe you can help me. You need to have a practiced beginning that you're comfortable with in order to help people into that Bible study. And so this is a good thing to do. And then also have a system of teaching that you know well. And so you go up to someone that you've been thinking about or praying for, and you ask them, would you like to study the Bible with me? And then they say yes, and you pass out. No. We need to have that study ready that we are familiar with, that we can go through with someone. And we need to stress when we're asking them for that Bible study, hey, this is not going to be a 5-year study, okay? I've got this 5-lesson study, or Bobby Bates, it's 3 lessons. And I've got this study that I'd like to go through with you, and, if you would, can we study? Well, that's a good way to present a pitch. It's not an ongoing or an unending Bible study. And, some people, would you like to know more about the Bible? Yes, I would. Well, can we get together? I've got a 3-lesson non-denominational study course that I'd like to share with you. Well, let's go and do that. This is one of the ways that we can be builders for eternity. There's no verse in the New Testament where Christians are called volunteers. Did you ever think about that? We're called servants, we're called slaves, we're called workers, but we're not called volunteers. I've quit using that word volunteer when we talk about church work. You say, well, I put this person over this project and they haven't gone through, they haven't followed through, it hasn't been done, and we've been waiting and encouraging, and it hasn't gotten done. Well, go ahead and talk to them. And so, well, we can't. They're volunteers. No, they're not volunteers. They're servants. And if a servant's not doing his work, guess what? He's quit. You're not firing him. He's quit. And so we need to have that in mind as we think about our service to God. I'm not a volunteer. Yes, I choose to do this work or that work and those kind of things. But friends, we need to be of the mindset that I'm a citizen of the kingdom of my Lord Jesus Christ. And as a citizen, I have duties to perform. We get upset about somebody kneeling down at the national anthem at a ball game. Well, friends, what do you think Jesus feels when we sit down, when an opportunity to serve arises? Wow. How does Jesus feel about that? We can't do it. We've got to be workers. We've got to have that. Remember Jesus in Matthew chapter 9, he said that harvest truly is plentiful. Pray ye therefore the Lord of harvest that he send forth laborers into his harvest. And so we've got to have that spirit of being a harvester, a worker, somebody who's bringing in that seed that is needed for the church to continue, for each congregation to be what God would have it to be. And so the personal worker has to have that open mind. He also has to have that open mouth. Listen to me here in 1 Corinthians 2, verse 6 and 7. Paul says, however we speak wisdom among those who are mature, yet not the wisdom of this age, nor of the rulers of this age, who are coming to nothing. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the ages for our glory. Do you notice Paul had an open mouth? He was speaking, and so he also had that maturity. He wanted them to come to speaking to those who are mature. You remember he said in chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians that when I was a child, I spake as a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away the childish things. We're too busy with other things. We allow life to take over, and you know we get comfortable in those things that are not important. I want you to think about this. We get tunnel vision, don't we? On Sunday morning, we get up, we have our coffee or breakfast or whatever, and then we drive to the church building. You know, everything's right there. Yes, we're going to church, we're going to worship, we're going to have a blessed time, a time of edification in this worship. And when we come in the doors, we expect the light of the gospel to be preached here in this hall. And then afterwards, we shake hands, we smile, we go get in our cars, and we have tunnel vision. We go back to the restaurant that we've chosen to eat at, and then we go back to our home and we sit in that recliner before that idiot box, and we don't serve God. We don't look for people who may need the light of the gospel of Jesus Christ while we're driving down the road, while we're in the restaurant, while we're shopping for groceries, while we're working in our workplaces. We fail to open our eyes to those around us who are lost. That's a shame. We ought not to do that. We ought not to be guilty. Let me ask you, when's the last time you asked someone, will you study the Bible with me? When's the last time you asked someone that question? My time is gone, right? Oh, I got 3 minutes. All right. We're going to go on then here. If you're going to be a builder for eternity, you must develop the passion. Friends, it doesn't happen automatically. It is something that we grow in. God saved me through His Son Jesus. Now, I want to help others to be saved. I want to help others go to heaven. I want to be a light so that others can see the goodness of God, the good news. And so we need to have that passion, and then we need to bow in prayer. You remember seeing the video the other day of the shooting out there in Las Vegas? And while I was watching one of the videos there, and while the shooting was going on, everybody was bowed down as if they were praying. Did you notice? Many of them were praying, no doubt. I was wondering if they had prayed earlier at church. Excuse me, but I wondered about that. A couple of fellows were standing up, pointing toward where they thought the shots were coming from, I suppose. And while they were pointing, they had a can of beer. And then when the shooting began again, they'd hunker down. Friends, we need to bow in prayer for lost souls and be sincere. We need to also have a presence. Friends, why did Paul go into the Jewish synagogues? Because there were people there who needed the gospel. Why did he go to Mars Hill? Because there were people there who needed the gospel. Why does it say in Acts chapter 8 and verse number 4 that the church was scattered, and as they went, they preached the gospel? As we're going, we need to have that presence for God. We got to be willing to plant the seed. If we're not willing to plant the seed, then are we truly farmers? We got to be plain. Keep it simple. Friends, if after you study with someone, they go away scratching their head and saying, what was that all about? We got to be plain. Then also we got to be persistent. People will not listen. People will say no. People will say, no, I'm not interested in those things. You got to be persistent. I was telling Noel about Boyette Cabaluna. Boyette was the preacher for the Christian church in Saipan. And some of you have heard this before. But Boyette was a good man, very honest, very sincere, and a great personal worker. And I had the opportunity to meet him and talk with him. And then I decided I'm going to keep after him. And so I would go by his house and carry some tracts, or I'd go by his house and carry a spiritual sword. I'd go by his house, and he told me that one time when I came by his house, he literally ran out the back door. He did. But I kept on. I invited him to lunch. And after I invited him to lunch, we studied the Bible together. And then he invited me to preach at the Christian church, and I did. And well, long story short, we wound up baptizing 15 people out of the Christian church, including Boyette and his wife, because of persistence. But also be personal. You're not a hireling doing a job. You are a Christian, the Son of God, who is serving your Master Jesus to help a soul go to heaven. Do it in love, but do it. Don't fall down. Keep on. Thank you all.